So I want to answer the question of how do you find the um, z value when you know the probability of being between two. How do you when you know what the probability is being between two z values? So in other words, I know the probability of being between, let's say, a negative z and a positive z is equal to 0.95. Well, one thing I just noticed is I have too many z's in here. And so to make life a little bit easier, I'm going to call the lower one negative z0 and the upper one positive z0. It's just to make them look different than this other z. And that other z is just this axis here. And we know that we're using z's, we have a normal curve. So we can draw a normal curve here. Because this is z's, we know it's a standard normal curve, so the center is 0. So this axis is the z-axis. So this is just, you could have called this A and B. I don't really care. It just makes it easier for negative z and positive z. So you know that they're basically the same number, just opposite signs. Negative z is below 0. So negative z0 is somewhere below 0. Positive z0 is somewhere above 0. We know the probability or the area between these two is 0.95. So that being the case, can we find what half of it is? Q norm needs to know what's in the tails. To find out what's in the tails, you can do it several different ways. And one way to do it is find out what is in half of the curve, the shaded part. So half the shaded would be half of 0.95, which is 0.475. Now, what we need actually, again, is we need what's in one of the tails. So you either need to know in the lower tail or the upper tail. It doesn't really matter which one. I just like to use the lower one because I do. And so if the whole curve, half of the whole curve is 1. So half the curve is 0.5. So what's in this little tail here is going to be the 0.5, the whole half, minus this shaded of 0.475. And now we can find Q norm. Well, we can use Q norm to find that z value. Q norm would be that value here, that area in the lower tail. You could actually don't need to find out what it is. You can actually just type in negative 0.5 minus 0.475 directly into the command. Then you need your mean of 0, your standard deviation of 1. And then you need to say the lower dot tail is, in this case, it's true because we've shaded that part. Then you go into RStudio and you do that command and you'll find out what it is. It'll give you a negative value. The positive is, of course, just the positive of that value because they're both z0s, just one's negative and one's positive. So once you find this one, you know that one just by changing the sign.